right, everybody, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Bitcoin predictions. We're going to be sifting through some expert opinions, trying to decipher, just where Bitcoin might be headed in 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of interesting predictions to unpack here. Some are, wildly optimistic, others a bit more cautious, but they all paint a fascinating picture of Bitcoin's potential future.
For sure. So let's jump right into 2025. The overall feeling I'm getting is pretty bullish. I mean, most analysts seem to be predicting an upward trend, but
Yeah.
the real question is, how high could it really go?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The answers vary quite a bit. I mean, for instance, Bernstein is calling for nearly $150,000 by the end of 2025. So putting a lot of weight on growing institutional adoption, especially with the rise of Bitcoin ETFs.
Okay, so big institutions getting involved, that's a major factor. But what about the other end of the spectrum? Some analysts are much more conservative, right?
Right. Life Finance and Price Prediction, for example, have it at a much lower $50,000. What's fascinating, though, is that this difference likely boils down to how they're weighing various factors. I mean, Bernstein is clearly very bullish on institutional adoption, while others might be putting more emphasis on things like market cycles or regulatory uncertainty.
Hold on, though. If institutional adoption is as game-changing as some say, why are those other predictions still so conservative? It seems like there's a pretty big disconnect there.
That's a great point. It really highlights the challenge of predicting something as volatile as cryptocurrency. Even if institutional adoption explodes, there are still other forces at play, like potential government regulations or even just the natural ebb and flow of market cycles.
So it's not just about following the hype. You really have to understand the nuances of the market and how different analysts are interpreting the data.
Exactly, and that's where critical thinking comes in. You can't just take any single prediction as gospel. It's about understanding the different perspectives and forming your own informed opinion.
Well, I'm definitely starting to see why this is such a complex and fascinating topic. So for 2025, we've got a range from $50,000 to $150,000. That's a pretty wide spread. Are the predictions for 2026 any more consistent?
It's interesting you ask that, because the predictions for 2026 actually tend to get even more optimistic. Digital coin price, for instance, goes as high as $250,513.92.
Whoa, now we're talking serious money. But is that kind of growth really realistic? What are they basing that prediction on?
They seem to be banking on the idea that Bitcoin's value will continue to climb as it gains wider adoption and the underlying technology matures. Remember, these are long-term predictions, and a lot can change in that time frame.
I guess that's the thrill and the risk of the crypto world, right? It's all about potential, but there are no guarantees.
Exactly. And that's why it's important to approach these predictions with a healthy dose of skepticism. Even the most optimistic forecasts should be taken with a grain of salt.
So we have a range from around $50,000 on the low end to over $250,000 on the high end. That's a massive spread. Is there anything that can help narrow it down or give us a better sense of what to expect?
Well, one thing that several analysts point to is the upcoming Bitcoin halving event, which is expected to happen in 2024. Historically, these events have had a significant impact on Bitcoin's price.
I'm curious about this halving event. Could you explain exactly how it works and why analysts think it will drive up the price?
Sure. Essentially, Bitcoin halving is a pre-programmed event that occurs approximately every 4 years. It cuts in half the reward that miners receive for adding new blocks to the blockchain. This reduction in new Bitcoin supply often leads to scarcity, and as you know, basic economics suggests, that can drive up the price.
Ah, supply and demand, the classic market dance. So how exactly are analysts factoring the halving event into their 2025 and 2026 predictions?
While some, like digital coin price, seem to be giving it a lot of weight, their prediction of over $250,000 for 2026 suggests they believe the halving will trigger a significant price surge.
Yeah, that makes sense. But not every analyst is as bullish, right? We've got a pretty wide range of predictions, even with the halving on the horizon.
Right. Take a look at Investing Haven, for instance. Their 2026 prediction ranges from around $92,000 to $150,000, with a possible high of $200,000. While they're acknowledging the potential impact of the halving, they're also factoring in other elements like market sentiment and macroeconomic trends, which might temper the price surge.
It's interesting how different analysts are weaving these factors together. It's almost like they're creating these intricate tapestries of possibilities.
That's a great way to put it. Each analyst brings their own unique perspective and methodology. Some focus heavily on technical analysis, while others prioritize market psychology or even geopolitical events.
Okay, so we've got the halving, institutional adoption, macroeconomic trends. It's a lot to keep track of. Are there any other major factors shaping these predictions that we should be aware of?
One crucial aspect we haven't touched on yet is technological advancements in the Bitcoin space. This is something Coinpedia seems to be particularly optimistic about. They're projecting a high of over $192,000 for 2026, citing the growing adoption of Bitcoin and the continuous development of its underlying blockchain technology.
You mentioned blockchain innovation. What specific developments are you most excited about, and how do those tie into these price predictions?
One exciting area is the development of Layer 2 scaling solutions like the Lightning Network. These technologies aim to make Bitcoin transactions faster, cheaper, and more efficient, potentially opening up new use cases and driving wider adoption.
So faster transactions, lower fees, that sounds like a recipe for increased user friendliness,
Yeah.
which could attract even more people to Bitcoin.
Exactly, and increased adoption means higher demand, which could lead to those impressive price predictions we've been discussing. Another area to watch is the development of decentralized finance DeFi applications built on the Bitcoin blockchain. This could unlock new financial possibilities and attract a whole new wave of users and investors.
DeFi on Bitcoin, that's a whole other rabbit hole to explore. It seems like there's a lot happening beneath the surface that could significantly impact Bitcoin's price in the long run.
Absolutely. Remember, these predictions aren't just about guessing a number. They're based on careful analysis of trends, technologies, and potential future developments.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got the halving event, institutional adoption, macroeconomic influences, and these fascinating technological advancements all swirling together. It's clear that predicting Bitcoin's price is far from an exact science.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a dynamic interplay of many factors, and that's what makes it so captivating. It's not just about numbers. It's about the evolution of a groundbreaking technology and its potential to reshape the financial landscape.
Okay, so we've heard from analysts who are laser focused on institutional adoption, others who are betting big on the halving event, and still others who are excited about the evolution of blockchain technology. It seems like there's a prediction out there for every taste.
Indeed, but amidst all these predictions and differing viewpoints, what stands out to you the most?
What strikes me is the sheer range of possibilities. It's both exhilarating and a bit daunting. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is that this is about so much more than just the price of Bitcoin. It's about the potential of this technology to change the world.
I couldn't agree more. And that's precisely why it's so important to stay informed, engage, and to keep an open mind.
Well said. But before we get too lost in the philosophical implications of Bitcoin's future, let's bring it back to our listeners. They've heard all these expert opinions and predictions. What are the key takeaways they should keep in mind as they navigate this exciting but often complex world of cryptocurrency?
That's a great question. And it leads perfectly into our next discussion, where we'll break down the implications of these Bitcoin predictions for our listeners and provide some practical guidance for navigating the crypto landscape.
Okay, deep divers. We've journeyed through a whole landscape of Bitcoin predictions for 2025 and 2026. We've talked institutional adoption, tech advancements, and of course, that looming halving event. It's been quite a ride.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to, distill all this information into something actionable for our listeners.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, it's not just about, fascinating predictions. It's about how this information can empower our listeners to make informed decisions.
Exactly. So let's shift gears for a minute and talk about what all this means for you, the listener. You've heard the expert opinions, you've seen the range of possibilities. Now the question is, how do you navigate this exciting but often volatile world of cryptocurrency?
Right, so let's break it down. What are the key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind?
First and foremost, remember that these are just predictions. They're not guarantees. The cryptocurrency market is inherently unpredictable, and there are countless factors that could influence Bitcoin's price in the coming years.
So don't rush out to invest your life savings based solely on these predictions.
Precisely, prudent investing is always key, especially in a market as volatile as cryptocurrency.
But these predictions do offer valuable insights into how experts are thinking about Bitcoin's future, right?
Absolutely. One key takeaway is that there's a general belief in Bitcoin's long-term potential. Even the more conservative predictions suggest that Bitcoin's value is likely to continue rising over time.
So even if we don't see those eye-popping figures of $250,000 or more, there's still a good chance that Bitcoin could be worth significantly more in a few years than it is today.
That's the general consensus, and it's fueled by several factors we've discussed: growing institutional adoption, technological advancements, and the upcoming halving event. These are all elements that could contribute to increased demand and a potential rise in price.
So there are some solid fundamental reasons for this optimism. It's not just hype. But at the same time, you've emphasized the importance of approaching these predictions with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right? It's about finding that balance between recognizing the potential and acknowledging the risks. The cryptocurrency market is still relatively young, and it's constantly evolving. We've seen how quickly things can change, so it's crucial to stay informed and to diversify your investments.
Diversification, that's a key principle in any investment strategy, especially in a market as dynamic as crypto.
Exactly. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. Explore different cryptocurrencies, consider different investment strategies, and always remember to invest only what you can afford to lose.
Great advice. So after listening to this deep dive, absorbing all these expert opinions, what's your gut feeling about Bitcoin's future? Are you feeling bullish, or do you think things might go in a different direction?
That's a tough one. There are compelling arguments to be made on both sides, but I think the most important takeaway isn't necessarily about predicting the exact price of Bitcoin. It's about understanding the transformative potential of this technology and its implications for the future of finance.
I love that perspective. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the bigger picture.
Exactly. The cryptocurrency space is constantly evolving. New technologies are emerging, new use cases are being explored, and the regulatory landscape is continuously shifting. It's a dynamic and exciting field, and the best way to navigate it is to stay curious, keep learning, and think critically.
Well said. So, to all our listeners out there, stay informed, stay engaged, and don't be afraid to dive deep into this fascinating world of cryptocurrency.
And remember, the future of finance is being written right now, and you have the opportunity to be a part of it.
That's a wrap on our Bitcoin predictions deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring.